Thanks, JJ, and hello, everyone. My name is Aldrich, and I just want to send lovely greetings from Singapore. It's really nice to have a change of weather. For those of you who have been to Singapore, it's just hot, sunny, and rainy all year round. There's no like 4 seasons there, so it's always nice to be able to walk out under the sun and not perspire. So really nice to be here. So today I'll be sharing about protecting our digital advertising ecosystem. So I think in a nutshell is that we are really looking to collaborate and partner with everyone, right? Everyone is important, advertisers, publishers, and the users as well. We all have a role to play to protect the whole ecosystem. Okay. Just a little bit more about myself. So I'm part of the Google Trust and Safety team, specifically the policy transparency, mainly doing works about scalable education resources, as well as scalable engagement through events such as IIB. So again, thanks a lot to the IIB team for the invitation. So again, we really want to help you understand like policies better. So we have created various resources which I will share in this presentation. All right, so learning about how to balance all the needs of the parties, as well as like learning some best practices to stay policy compliant. So this is what I will call like the circle of life of the digital advertising ecosystem, right? We all have different parties. We have the advertisers, we have the publishers who wants to increase their revenue, and we have users who wants to have a good positive experience. And when we are thinking about protecting and really growing the whole digital advertising ecosystem, it's about balancing the needs of all parties. And of course, over here we have industry groups and ad tech group as well. So those are all important. So advertising basically people who advertise on Google and other platforms as well. They want to make sure that their messages come across well. And for users, they want to have a good, positive experience, not one that they feel that they are being tricked to click into an ad that they do not have the intention to do so. And for publishers, of course, we want to grow our revenue while staying compliant with the policies. So this is where Google Trust and Safety come into play. We are here to really build comprehensive policies and also effective processes to make sure that the signals and the reviewers that we have protects the whole ecosystem and make sure it's a good experience for everyone. So the picture here, you can see the stone are being stacked to maintain a balance. So it's just to illustrate that this is challenging. This is not an easy thing to do, right? Sometimes advertisers think that we don't go far enough to protect. Whereas publishers may think that, hey, we go too far, that it affects their revenue and earnings and things like that. So when we create these policies and our enforcement systems, we want to make sure that we keep in mind the whole ecosystem as a whole, like the whole industry together. So how we do that is through a combination of automated systems and human reviews. I think most of us are already familiar with that. But really, how we enforce this is we have to make sure that our signals, powered by artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, it continues to be one step ahead of the bad actors. And we also make use of your feedback to say, tell us that if a certain ad is an unwanted, it's not suitable, it violates our policies, your feedback are also important. And we have like human reviewers to make sure that the ecosystem is clean and safe for everyone. Okay, so this is just now is more like an introduction. Now comes the updates, which probably is more interested for you. So I think first thing first would be, just now JJ was mentioning Google has so many products, right? AdMob, AdSense, Ad Manager, so many different policies. So what we have done on our side is we try to align all the content policies across all of Google into one. Right, so we are in the process of migrating and consolidating all the publisher policies and restrictions into this one help center, which is the Publishers Policy Help Center. All right, so it's still in the process, but ultimately the end goal is that we can just have one source where we can understand all our policies and restrictions. This is maybe just more like a reminder for everyone. I think if we are in the space for a long time, I think it will be familiar. But just want to reiterate what's the difference between publisher policies and restrictions, right? So policies would outline the type of content that we will not monetize on the Google platform. And this would include policies like, for example, illegal content, dangerous or derogatory content. Basically, it will not show ads in the Google platform. For restrictions-wise, it outlines the type of content that don't necessarily violate the policy, but may not be appealing for all advertisers, right? So this would mean that this type of content will be labeled with restricted demand. So this would mean that sometimes it will lead to a lesser advertising, or sometimes no advertising at all. So it's just a reminder. And for us, we will publish any upcoming changes to our policies through the change logs. So I think 30 days before it goes live, we will have it previewed here, like just to give you a heads up of what is to come. Right? So changes in policies could revolve around like the rebranding of a certain policy naming. So for example, Google search used to have like webmaster guidelines. Now they call it like the spam policies for webmasters. But of course, the content still are relatively the same, just that it's more like with some restructuring. But with the policy changes, it could include as well like things like relaxation of a certain policy, or even like a restructuring, recategorization of policies. So it's a good practice for us to maybe just like set a monthly reminder to yourself, just to jump into the changelog page and see whether there's any upcoming policy change. All right. So we have the policies, we have the restrictions, and now just we have the 4 different types of content policies, or the 4 different types of the policies and restrictions. So first would be like content-related policies, behavioral, privacy-related, and requirements and other standards. So all this has been consolidated for AdMob, AdSense, GAM into these 4 types of policies and restrictions. So highly recommend that you familiarize yourself or just like remind yourself of these 4 categories. Okay. So for Policy Center, there has been a number of updates as well. So, but before that, just a quick overview, a summary. So Policy Center gives you detailed information. It's the go-to place for you to learn more about any policy issues that you have. And then there will be like examples, there will be more details about what the issue is about, as well as that is the place where you request review if you have any policy issues. So it's also the platform for you to gauge the impact of certain policy enforcement, right? So after you have made changes to those issues, then you can request a review from the platform and you'll be notified on what is the outcome, so on and so forth. But something that is relatively new and is also is coming for the app side is the introduction of policy screenshots. So I think we have been hearing a lot that, hey, it's good that you have told us that we are experiencing this policy label applied to our site or app, but we want to know more about it. Like, can you give us more specifics, right? So we have already given like example URLs or like affected pages, but right now we have started to roll out like policy screenshots of the exact issue. For AdSense, that means the web platform, and it will be coming for the apps platform as well. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully it will be useful for you. The next thing would be we have also launched a video series on understanding the Policy Center. So over here, we have like different things like, just an overview. We're understanding notifications, the different labels, features, filters, and also we have one video that is dedicated to understanding the usage of policy screenshots that I've just shared earlier on. Okay, so that visual is supposed to load some fancy animation, so don't worry. So basically what I would like to share here under the ads safety report. Okay, so the exact numbers, like we do this report, we publishes the ad safety report on an annual basis, basically providing insights to Google's efforts in preventing malicious use of our ads platform. So here comes the numbers, right? 5.2 billion ads removed, right? And then 4.3 billion ads restricted, and we have 6.7 million advertisers account suspended. So those are great, fancy numbers, right? But what I would like to point out here is that in 2022, we actually see an increase of 2 billion more ads removed in the year prior to the year before. So what I'm trying to get at here is that this is a challenge that we have been encountering year after year. It's not going to stop, and we need each other to really protect and grow the whole ecosystem, right? So later I will also share with you that you can do your part, right? So if you as a user, as a publisher, or even as an advertiser as well, if you encounter like any unwanted ads that you see, or policies that violates our policies, ads that violates our policies, you can report it to us, right? Do your part, and the feedback is really appreciated for the team, for the trust and safety team to take in and to make sure that we take the steps ahead to prevent this from happening in the future. So the link is at goo.gle/@feedback. So that is the place where you can report any unwanted ads. And if you see it in your domain, you are able to report it directly from the ad itself also. All right. Next update, we have recently, this is really brand new, just this year, we have published the Ads Transparency Center. All right, so this is basically for, we want to advocate greater transparency, right, on the advertisers as well as the actual ads that are showing on Google platforms. So in this case, you are able to check it out for yourself, but let me just show you. You are able to filter via, say, the duration, sort of for the past 3 months, past 1 year, and then based on the location as well, so maybe just Australia or certain other region, and we are able to filter via the different formats. So where is it like via text, visual, or videos? And then you are able to see the actual ads showing. So let's say if you encounter a certain, in your opinion, suspicious advertiser, right? You can potentially use this site to investigate and find out more about the advertiser itself. So hopefully this will be a useful tool for you. Just search like Google Ads Transparency Center and it should appear, hopefully. All right, so next up, because we are talking about ad traffic quality, we also have a website, which is at g.co/adtrafficquality to learn more about anything ad fraud, invalid traffic, what are some of the best practices that you can learn to prevent it, and if ever you encounter any issues, what are some of the resolution, the request review, the appeals that you can take. So highly recommend that you check this out. And I think in the handbook as well that JGA has shared, there's a couple of the different types of ad fraud. So similarly, in the effort of greater transparency, we have also added animated visuals to help you understand about the different types of invalid traffic. So in this case, on the left side will be some example of how the bad actor actually implemented the ad nearing the navigation game button, right? And then we have in the middle is ad stacking, basically like the ads are being stacked one on top of the other. And the most right one will be an example of click jacking, right? So highly recommend that you check that out, and hopefully it will be useful. So just a note that we have featured about 10 types of IVT, but it is not representative of all types. And what we are trying to show here is that every single type of invalid traffic, there is a challenge. There's a different challenge that we need to take. There is a different set of protection measures that we need to implement, like within Google or within the different ad tech companies, to prevent those. So it's more like just to help you understand about the challenge and the topic better. All right. So just to conclude, we have different changes in policies. We have the different tools. We have different updates, different challenges. Like, what are some of the best practices that we can think about? And these are quite, is simplified, but I think it brings back to the basics and the fundamentals of, making sure that we have a healthy and thriving digital advertising ecosystem that we can all play a part. So the first would be to really focus on the content, right? So the content should always be the focus of your app, of your site, so that visitors will come back and they will become loyal users, right? The second one would be, policy compliant ad implementation. So our ads are designed to visually complement the content of your app and sites. So just double check, make sure that there are sufficient, say, buffers in between navigational bars, and just like make sure that the ad implementation adhere to the policies and the updated policies that we have released. So last but definitely not least, what we'll suggest to you is to really focus on the user, because when we focus on the user, everything will fall into place. That's also one of the core beliefs within Google as well. Like in every product that we do, we want to make sure that we focus on the needs of our users, and with that, we believe that everything else will, complement to that focus as well. Okay, so that's almost the end of it. Just a wrap up of some resources that you can look at. So every single product, so AdMob, AdSense, GAM, have its own dedicated like Help Center, Resources on Policy Center. But maybe what I would like to highlight is that we also have a help community. So basically it's a forum where you can go in and ask your questions. And there are also product experts within the community who are able to address your questions and issues. So yeah, if you have those, highly recommend that you just go to the forum, ask your questions, and you'll be able to get some insights there. And of course, we have YouTube channels for each of the products. And for those of you who are more visuals and you like seeing pretty pictures, we have also launched like a bunch of infographics to help you understand what are some of the common policy issues that publishers are encountering. So you can check that out. What are the things about Policy Center that you should be mindful of? Some of the things about requesting reviews, how you can be successful in that. Those are already listed in the infographic. So check that out. For YouTube, we have different channels as well as playlists as well. We have the Product Policy Hub. We have dedicated policy playlists for AdMob, AdSense, and the last one, the one on your right, is the Policy Center video series, which I have shared earlier on. All right, so that's it from me. Those are the resources that I've shared with you, but as you deep dive into each one of them, I'm sure that you'll be able to find more gems. And of course, later on, we'll have like networking sessions. So happy to talk to you and also like address your questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. We have included a few of those bits and pieces in the handbook, actually. I found the transparency bit with the ads that are running live fascinating to thrash around in. If I could have Deanna and Nathan also come up. And I think if you're running certain teams, I think making it, I don't know, make it obligatory, but a recommendation that your staff go through the policy training that's available there, because of the prevalence of GAM in market would make sense to me from a process perspective. But welcome to the stage. Give the panelists a quick round of applause, please. All right, so we're going to dig into some details here, but before we do, I'll ask you all to, introduce yourselves. Audrey, we met you, but you can add some more flavour to it if you like.
I am married and going through the process of raising a kid. So my boy is about 2.5 years old. So yeah. Family is important to me, and yeah, lovely to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Deanna.
Hi, my name's Deanna. I'm at Pedestrian Group, Head of Commercial Operations, run a all-female powerhouse team, don't have any kids, just me.
Cool, don't know if I can beat that, but my name's Nathan. I work at REA. I'm glad you put the title up there because sometimes I struggle to remember it, but it's a handful. Senior Technical Ops Specialist, ad tech, so anything from integrations, automations, all that fun stuff.
Tech Ops Guru, Nathan, Tech Ops Guru, and also the chair of IS&G Council that put together the handbook and this event, no less. All right, so let's just start. I think Myth and I were swapping notes about sort of just good, decent practices on an ongoing basis that teams should establish and stand behind. What are some of the processes that your publisher AdOps teams, Deanna, follow in terms of monitoring traffic across the number of domains that you assist on?
Yeah, so really it's about that regularly monitoring of traffic. So employing a regular process. It's not a set and forget thing. So, making sure that you're working with an ad verification vendor, your team understands the definitions and the differences between general and sophisticated and valid traffic, understanding what to look out for, what to then escalate to your tech teams as well, and have a really good relationship with your tech teams so that if you do need any changes done to your sites, they can, get you to the top of the queue. So I think, that's really important. Also, investigating what tools there are out there with your ad verification partners to help protect your advertisers' ad spend. So, for example, what we use internally at Pedestrian Group is an Oracle tool called Yield Intelligence. Allows us to actually target away from a page that has been identified as containing ad fraud. And that's really obviously useful for us and useful for clients because we're making sure that we're not, wasting advertisers' spend and doing our bit to make sure that we can minimise the impact of ad fraud and also understanding that, of course we're going to try to get to 0%, but there's good bots and there's bad bots. And so understanding that and, trying to implement ways that we can kind of minimise that is really important.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're openly buttering up people like Nathan in your organisation to get ahead of the ticket queue, if there is one.
Whiskey. AdOps.
You know what will work at our REA Group. So actually, off to you, Nathan, in terms of when looking to manage quality, how important is it to have exclusion lists or block lists in your processes?
Just before I answer that, we've all experienced pretty close to ad fraud today. I don't know if you noticed, JJ had put the link up to Slido and then swiftly linked us all onto the handbook.
We had to increase the downloads, Nathan.
Jacking up the impressions on the download books. So you're very passionate about the handbook.
There we go. We felt we'd want to see fraudulent practices in play.
Pretty close to borderline.
Jen, how are our downloads looking? Did it work? Bloody Tech Ops, always like...
Sorry, Jade, I had to.
You can't remember the question now, can you?
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Put
Do you
myself off
remember,
here.
Exclusion list.
Yeah, gotcha. So I actually think inventory quality is extremely important. As we've heard and seen, ad fraud is massive impacts to our ad ecosystem. And for us at REA, we take inventory quality very serious. And with that, we curate our product placements, and using tools, we're able to exclude low quality placements.
Do you have different layers to that? Different levels at which you'll filter from sort of the very top before it even hits the page?
Yeah, definitely. I'll get to that in a second.
Right. Sorry.
And doing what I just mentioned, sort of moving away from low quality impressions, allows a few different things at REA for us, and I'm hoping everyone else. But one of them is literally helps expand on our consumer experience, which is one of our key priorities at REA. Secondly, it ensures that we're being brand safe across our network. And thirdly, four things, so I'm getting there. Thirdly, it helps optimise campaign performance, so making sure we're maximising our key metrics.
Yep.
And fourthly, you mentioned it before, it helps protect our advertiser spend,
yep,
making sure there's no waste, in particular for IVT, both sophisticated and general.
Yep.
And that's what we're talking about here, predominantly when we mention fraud. And the way we do that at REA, we've got a couple different methods. One of them being give me a sec.
So at the high bot level, bot protection.
That's number 4.
Oh, is it? Right. You're doing the other way around.
Sorry. One of them being is at our ad server level. Our ad server, which is an independent ad server, funny enough, uses IAB Tech Labs, Spider and Bots crawl list.
Yep.
And that gets filtered out at ad server level. And for us, it gets filtered out from campaigns, reporting and forecasting. So throughout the whole thing, doesn't even get seen through us.
Yep.
Secondly, we've engaged with an ad verification partner, same as you. We've put our trust in Oracle, and through their tech, we measure, and we've got the capability to block any fraudulent ads.
Mm-hmm.
And that's through their product again, through yield intelligence.
Yep.
And their bot filtration. Now for us, as I mentioned, we're using independent ad server. So a little bit of context, we're not on Google, which means like we don't get the joy of ad tech partners building out their stack based around Google's technology. A lot of companies do that. You click of a button and you easily integrate potentially yield intelligence, like it's quite seamless. Being with an independent, we've got a few extra hoops we need to jump through for those integrations. So that's coming. Thirdly, we've got another third-party company that we utilise that's more around creative quality and controlling what gets... So the actual vendor specialises in running scans on our ads across our ad server. And with that, we can set up policies based on any particular fraudulent activity, new malware that comes into play. So it's a bit more of a reactive approach that we do there. And then lastly but not least, at a domain level, our consumer team run another third-party platform that protects us at domain level. So,
yep.
And that ultimately helps our other 3 methods, like it brings our benchmarks, our IVT, and like brand safe metrics all well within in benchmarks.
Yeah, so that's incredibly thorough sort of layers of protection. It's not necessarily for all sizes of media owners and publishers to afford that level of protection, but that is kind of a best-in-class approach, at least in terms of the specific layers of protection, in my opinion. Aldrich, look, thank you so much for the presentation. And I know there was quite a lot of content in there, but you guys have a lot of tools. We include a number of those, and I think another one in the handbook just for guidance. Can you talk us through some more interesting tools and features that you have to help in this general area of quality and trust?
Yeah, we'd love to. So I think apart from tools, maybe I can share some of the processes to consider. So I think like monitoring traffic is definitely very important. So the first stage where we should consider is really to understand what is normal traffic for us, right? For the app, for the web itself. So I think the tool for that would be like for web would be Google Analytics, and then for app we have like Firebase as well to understand your analytics, and also understand what are the normal spikes in your in your traffic. So for example, I was here since last Saturday, so I managed to catch like Vivid Sydney. Right. So that was really lovely. Nice to see like the Bay Area kind of lit up. So that's beautiful. But potentially, if your web or your app has like content related to that, then it might be normal for you to see some increased traffic around this season. Right. So I think first thing first would be to understand what is normal traffic to you. So using tools like Analytics, Firebase on that. So the second process would be to kind of like try to identify what is abnormal spikes in traffic. So potentially, if you see a certain traffic coming out like from a certain region that you may not be so familiar with, or you have not encountered before, or a certain traffic providers that you maybe have recently either partner with or collaborate together. So those could be areas where it could be suspicious. So again, there's the second process that you can consider. I think of course the last step will be the remediation process. Yes. Where if you have like suspected certain advertiser, then you can use another tool. So for Google side will be we have the Ads Transparency Center. Yep. You can go there, check out the advertiser. Is it valid? How are the other ads that's related to that particular advertiser to make sure that they are reliable before you do any inventory protections, controls, like whether to remove them, block them, or things like that. So those will be some of the kind of considerations that you can think about.
Yeah, I love the analytics point, and that's one of the reasons we really wanted to include that in the guidance. Just looking at some of the variances where you do see those spikes, as mentioned. It takes a while for platforms to understand seasonality. Has to be that the data has to exist for it to be able to chunk that and then get used to that. So there are all these considerations. The devil really is in the detail. Another feature of yours we touched upon in the handbook is called Confirm Click. Could you just quickly talk us through that one? It is probably quite well known, but you might not know that it's called Confirm Click.
Okay. So just a quick sensing, like how many of you here you have no idea what Confirm Click is about? Okay. That's cool.
About half. That's not bad.
Yeah. So it's a relatively new tool. So I think that's probably explains why probably not everyone is aware. Basically, we have implemented a Confirm Click feature, which is whereas a user will have to confirm their intention to click on an ad before they are directed to the landing page, right? So when you first click on the ad, then there will be like kind of like a pop-up say, do you want to visit the site? Then you click on that, and then it confirms your intention, and it goes to the landing page. So this is really ultimately to, again, protect the whole ecosystem, to protect the user experience, because maybe as a publishers, it may not be intentional. There could be like ad implementation issues. Maybe there's is too close to a certain navigation bar. There's not enough buffer, or maybe the page load of the page kind of like affecting the user experience. So this is implemented so that a user are able to click on the confirmation intention before they land on the page itself. Yeah. We have created like an FAQ, so feel free to check it out. Just Google Confirm Click, there should be some resources there, and I believe it has also been included in the handbook.
Download
right?
the handbook as our clickbait
There you go.
example has been. So it's like a light authentication. It's kind of interesting of human verification. So not to be confused with, and there was a bit when you first look at it, like, is this a enforced click? You sometimes see it in gaming, like, to keep playing, click on this. Not that. So it's authentication. So we did include it. It's interesting. I'm sure there's a lot of technology that goes into actually that being a human verification process in itself too. So now, Deanna, we talked about the sort of scale of effort at your end with the number of domains that you work across and the teams and everything else. Great to hear that it's a supersonic female team too. What do you do actually when working with clients to educate on this topic and working together with them in terms of building awareness or a little collaboration in terms of best practices?
Yeah, so to be honest, I don't think we're working with them enough. I think we need to be doing more because, to be honest, I usually only hear from larger global clients with more media spend at risk. I only hear from them about benchmarks that we need to achieve in terms of IVT. I don't hear it from the vast majority of Australian clients, and I think every advertiser should be concerned about ad fraud, and every advertiser should understand the differences between the types of ad fraud that is present in our ecosystem, and they should understand what you as a publisher do to be able to combat that and your methods that you have in place to be able to protect their spend. So, and it shouldn't just be on an ops person to be communicating that, to be honest. I think, it's up to salespeople as well. I don't know if we have any salespeople in the room, but, it is a selling point too, because, you want to be able to go out there and, talk about your inventory and talk about your sites and, assure the advertiser that, this is fraud-free inventory. And we're doing our best to combat that with the different methods that we have in place. I think run lunch and learns with your teams. Empower them with run them through the handbook, and then empower them to go out and speak to their clients about it, so that they understand the methods that you use internally.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of what we wanted to do in building out this handbook, and thank you for your effort and involvement in that, just to get beyond this sort of level of complacency. I know it's not across all of the industry, but there are times in pockets where it's still not being looked at closely enough. So just building awareness for buyers as well. Thank you, Nathan. So you work with a lot of different types of vendors. You have done in your various roles. Any advice, just general advice in terms of just working with vendors, getting the best out of them?
Yeah, I do actually. I've worked with vendors nearly my whole working career, and I love it. Engaging with new partners and everyone involved in that ad tech system. So my advice, really, a couple things or three things, is collaborate with your vendors, similar to your clients, like what Deanna mentioned. Make sure you collaborate with them. I know it sounds cliched, but set up your fortnightly catch-ups, your monthly catch-ups on a regular basis. Even if you don't have initiatives on, still catch up with them. Build those relationships with them. I've got really good relationships, I think, with my vendors. Hopefully they do as well. Looking at you, Ron. But I've called him up on the mobile a few times, just out of the blue, and gone, hey, we've got a couple of questions. Can we get these answered?
Yeah, or you could have a Slack channel, shared Slack channel.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't have to be a phone call, but just step outside of that usual of needing to ask permission to set up an invite. Just give them a buzz, they appreciate it. Secondly is be curious, always asking questions. Don't be scared to ask questions. There's no stupid questions. Just always ask and always constantly wanting to learn. There's new technologies forever changing. Ad tech changes so frequent. So just always wanting to learn from your vendors, partners, even internal stakeholders. Even partners that you're not currently involved with, reach out to new vendors, get demos. A lot of people offer free demos, take them up, learn new things. And lastly, there was one more. I forgot.
Free lunches? You talking about that one? No.
Yeah, that too.
I like the fact that you're curious, because I don't get that from a lot of people. They think it's a pain in the arse, but I love actually seeing the different products. Even the way they're pitched, I find fascinating. And then digging into the roadmap of what actually exists, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
there was one more, which is a little bit left of centre. I always had my mentality is work with your vendors, but my mentality is fail fast. Try on new things. Don't be scared to fail, because you always just learn from and you just grow from there. And what you learn, you end up bringing back into the business tenfold. That's
easy to talk about and actually very hard to do. A lot of product teams talk about it, but when you actually present a failure and then go, here are the learnings from it, and sometimes, particularly if you're working with clients, that does involve a bit of money and you've got to work on that side of things, but it's so true. Yeah, just an example on that as well. It is hard to go by, and we just recently went through an integration with a key partner. And we had to move off the old one to a new one. We probably all know who that is. But so that was a massive integration. We had a hard cut-off of when that was happening. And it was either wait for a new feature from our ad server, or we could do some extra work and release earlier. But it meant you're actually increasing risk of things failing. So like, if you know it's going to fail, communicate to your stakeholders, let them know, your vendors, be like, okay, this is probably going to fail, but we're actually learning a lot more than closer to the cutoff. And that's just one example of being able to fail fast, and you learn so much from it. Yep. Minimal viable and iteratively build up, as long as there's not, you can wear the risks. It's true. Easy to talk about, really hard to do. So Aldrich, our last point, we banged on about collaboration today. I've got a weird analogy involving a lost bus and being the driver, and everyone on the bus trying to help me drive the bus. I'm not sure it's the right one. But anyway, in terms of collaboration, how important is it that we work collaboratively, and what can we do more to test locally, regionally on some of these issues? Or opportunities, sorry. It doesn't have to always be an issue.
Yes, and definitely, collaboration is really the key. That's why we are here together as a group, thinking about how we can resolve and improve the whole ecosystem together. And I think, as I've shared in the presentation, everyone has a part to play, right? If you are an advertiser here, making sure that the quality of your ads and also the platforms that you work with are the highest quality, that how. For publishers, making sure that the implementation and also the way that your content kind of like navigate and flows together with the ads, how it's being implemented, that's also important. For users, there's a part to play. You're able to submit a report to us if you encounter any ads that are violating our policies. Do your part. It is not like gone into the dark circle somewhere, dark box somewhere. It's being looked at, really, really. We really appreciate that the feedback is being looked at by the trust and safety team. It helps to improve our algorithm, our classifiers, to make sure that we get ahead of the bad actors. So again, it's crucial. It's something that we can't live without. We need to collaborate together. We need to improve the whole system together.
Fantastic, thank you. Now we are at time, so maybe there's time for one question if there's a burning one. Otherwise, as a last thing, Deanna, I know you've got a bit of a personal story that you can share, that you promised me you wouldn't get fired.
Yes, hopefully not. So, it turns out the fraud was us quite a few years back. So, look, on a very small, insignificant amount of traffic, we identified that we had a hidden MREC on pedestrian TV, and it was only after we had implemented ad verification into our sites that I had identified it, and it was just bad code. And moral of the story is, and we were working with an outsourced dev team at the time, no longer with us. So, moral of the story is make sure that you are double checking after any code changes, any, ad placement changes, make sure that you are checking your data, make sure that you are analysing that and making sure that everything is in a good place. Nothing like that happens now, but yeah, we've
all been there. We've all been there. And just that site audit, seriously. Some businesses you go into and they've forgotten the number of domains they own. You have a little look at it and you're like, as I said earlier, what is on here? And they actually don't know. Anyway, thank you very much. Hopefully you will keep your job, don't worry. Right, everyone, thank you so much.